Hey everyone, Jason from Iron Fence Shop with a quick answer to a common question we get all the time. Today's question is, what are the pros and cons of using an iron fence or driveway gate? Before we jump into the pros and cons, one thing I do want to emphasize is that the iron and aluminum fencing gates are as different as apples and oranges. So what we discuss in this video will not apply to anything aluminum fence or gate related. Let's start with the pros of using an iron fencing gate. The first and foremost and most important difference between an iron fence and an aluminum fence is strength. If strength matters at all in your project, iron is really what you want to go with. It's a much more heavy-duty and durable material than anything aluminum. I could bore you for hours with stories of dogs, animals, kids, bending and breaking aluminum fences. It doesn't take as much effort as you really think it would. So if you've got strength on the mind, whether it's security, you just want a strong fence, you've got active kids or dogs, then iron's a great way to go. The next pro is appearance. Personally, I think the iron has a cleaner look than the aluminum. With an aluminum fence, you have screw heads exposed, you have specialized posts with punches in them. With the iron fence, it looks the same side to side, it's a much cleaner look with less hardware showing, and I think it does a better job of emulating the look of an old world fence. The third pro is you're going to get more style and gate options in both standard and custom applications with iron. Just due to the nature of iron and steel, you have the ability to do different castings, different styles, different sizes than you get with aluminum. So you're going to get a lot more options style-wise, size-wise, and looks-wise going with an iron fence over an aluminum fence. And then the fourth and final pro of using an iron fence is it's got a more authentic look and feel. Most people that get an aluminum fence are very underwhelmed with the feel of that fence once they get it. Now that's not saying there's anything wrong with an aluminum fence, but they're very lightweight. To give you an idea, a 4x8 iron panel weighs about 50 pounds in my classic style. My 4x6 aluminum panel in that same setup weighs about 8 pounds. So picking up something that's 4 feet long by 6 feet wide and it weighs that little kind of just doesn't give you that same feel as that bigger, heftier piece. I think the welded together construction, the look and feel and texture of iron and steel also goes a long way in terms of giving it that authentic look and feel that a lot of historic preservation societies, historic districts, older homes, and higher end homes love to have versus a more off-the-shelf assembled look that aluminum can kind of give you. Okay, now let's hop over to the cons of using an iron fencing gate. The first and the one that comes up the most is iron costs more than aluminum, with the few exceptions of driveway gates depending on their style and construction. So if budget's a big concern, this guy is definitely going to come in more than an aluminum fence. Now how much more depends on a lot of factors, but it could be anywhere from 20% more to 100% more. It just depends on your application, style, and what you're going with. But at the end of the day, iron will typically cost more than an aluminum fence. The second con of using an iron fence is the one people often worry about too, and that is rust. Unlike an aluminum fence that will not rust, iron and steel does when it's exposed to bare metal. Now, we do a lot of hot dip galvanization and powder coating to keep that metal protected, but if I take a screwdriver and take a chunk out of this finish down to bare metal, you're gonna get some rust. Now, those fears are typically overblown. Everyone thinks a wet sneeze on this is gonna turn the whole thing orange. The truth of the matter is a properly coated iron and steel fence is just gonna get little rust spots, little things here and there as you get dings and chips and stuff like that. Upkeep is minimal, really like an annual walkthrough and touch-up, not something you need to sweat doing like every couple of months. And when we say touch-up, we mean that. Touching up a small spot, not fire hosing a spray can and redoing the whole thing. So keep in mind that with iron, you can get rust when it gets exposed bare metal to air, and you do have to keep an eye out for that. The third con is pieces are much heavier to move around. Now I kind of mentioned this back in the pros that those iron pieces are a lot heftier and have a lot more, feel to them. The downside is they have a lot more heft and feel to them when you gotta move them around. That lighter aluminum panel you can pick up with one hand and walk around the yard with. That 4x8 panel is going to be a two-hander, and it's going to take a little more to offload from the truck for your delivery and as you're moving things around for installation. So keep in mind that which iron fence you're using might be very heavy. You may want to ask us about the weight of the pieces if you're concerned about that, but that is another con, is that the iron weighing a lot more than the aluminum means that you are going to have more weight to move and heft around at delivery and during installation. So use those pros and cons to determine if an iron fence and driveway gate is best for your project. If you still aren't sure if iron's right for your project, give us a call at 800-261-2729 or shoot us an email at sales@ironfenceshop.com. We look forward to helping you with your project.